Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm John.
And I'm Kevin.
And this is 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger, the podcast where we take a long, hard look at some of our favorite action movies from the era of Arnold.
Schwarzenegger is the icon of the genre, and we're taking a deep dive into some of these 80s and 90s cult action movies and breaking them all the way down.
As always, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty and examine the good, the bad, the ugly, and the laughable in these movies.
But we're always coming from a place of love. You don't watch these movies as much as we have unless you have a genuine affection for them.
And welcome to the podcast.
Hi, John.
Hey, buddy. How are you doing, Kevin?
I'm feeling good. Doing a little morning recording.
That's right. It's earlier than normal, which is not keeping Kevin from drinking.
Well, I'm sipping on Applejack. It's the closest thing to a fruit juice I have in the house.
Yeah, I condone it. I approve and appreciate it.
You know, starting out slow.
Yeah.
There is a couple of elephants in the room.
We need to address them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So we missed a week. That's because we were caught up in the Braves World Series magic.
Oh my God! Yeah, if you've been living under a rock, you don't know that the Atlanta Braves are once again the world champions of Major League Baseball.
And for our loyal listeners outside of the United States, we still consider them the world champions.
Yeah, even though they only play American teams.
You know, I feel like baseball is one where you can get away with that.
Yeah.
Because the best players from the globe come to play in this league.
That's a good call. I never thought about it that way.
But It is weird, yeah, when it's like...
I was explaining it to a rando friend that I met on Facebook, this guy that, like, listens to the old church where I used to sing, like the music videos and stuff that the church would post. He like contacted me. He was like, love your singing. And then like saw that I was celebrating the Braves. He's like, what's baseball? I was like, what?
Where is this guy?
He lives in the UK, but he's like, world champions. How does that work? And I had to explain. It's like, well, you know, it doesn't really count because
it's kind of, sort of, yeah. But yes, the Braves' improbable playoff run. We're still basking in the glory of a much deserved World Series win, though.
And we were downtown in Atlanta for the parade yesterday for what was the fastest parade you've ever seen in your life. Those trucks were going 50 miles an hour.
The city of Atlanta is not used to championship parades.
They were rushing it.
They don't know. Like, we'll do better next time.
They blew their load.
Oh God. Also on a bit of a sadder note, we have to acknowledge the passing of a dear friend of the podcast, Rick, who you may have heard on our series on the movie Roadhouse.
Yeah.
He was a loyal listener and a good friend and gone too soon. We'd like to dedicate this series to him.
Absolutely. We'll do our best to make it a good one in his honor. And we will raise our coffee and our Applejack to Rick.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to Rick.
And with that business out of the way, we'd also like to say hello to our listeners on the Last of the Action Heroes podcast network.
What's up, everybody?
And an extra special hello to our old school listeners listening on our own 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger feed. Wherever you're listening to us, go check out the other avenue as well, especially the podcast network, though, because there's a lot of cool stuff there. They just added a Van Damme podcast.
I saw those dudes are going to do Bloodsport.
Yeah. So we're going to try to get our own Bloodsport loaded up on the podcast network after theirs has had a chance to settle in.
And let theirs marinate, let it age a little bit.
Yeah, we'll be like bonus content.
Like a nice aged brie.
But we will not let that stop us from occasionally touching on a Van Damme movie, perhaps.
Hell yeah.
There's too many good ones to ignore.
We're not here to talk about Van Damme. We're here to talk about one Wesley Snipes.
Yeah. We haven't touched on it. I guess he's a peripheral figure in in this action world.
Yeah, I went back and looked at what Wesley was up to, and there's not a lot of action stuff
prior
that he was
to
in.
this.
Yeah.
He'd been. Oh, well, we should mention We're going to talk about Passenger 57.
What? No, don't tell anyone. Let them guess.
I love the movie. Grew up watching it, of course. Another Die Hard knockoff.
Yeah, this movie is Die Hard. Kevin was asking me what I thought about this movie, and I was like, it's good because it's Die Hard.
This is like a blind taste test for you?
Yep.
Okay.
If I have seen this movie, I have no recollection of it whatsoever. I blocked it out, and it's good enough where I think that I wouldn't have blocked it out.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't on. I mean, I don't think it was on heavy like TBS or TNT rotation.
Right. Agreed.
So that's where we were soaking them all in.
Right, and it's good.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it.
I mean, it is exactly what you want an action movie to be. Nothing more, nothing less.
If I was surfing through the channels, which I don't do anymore because streaming, and I found this movie on, I would watch it.
Yeah, it's solid enough. You're not going to walk away being like, God, that was a disappointment.
No, it is a tightly packaged, brisk little film.
But yeah, so back to Snipes.
Yeah.
Before this, I feel like he was doing a lot of like supporting roles and ensemble pieces and like some small budget like Spike Lee type movies.
He'd done notably White Men Can't Jump. He's got a great comedic
comedies,
bend.
Major League, amazing.
New Jack City and Mo Better Blues. Mo Better Blues is awesome.
He did Jungle Fever as well. Like, yeah, so he was rolling with Spike. But I feel like this movie, I feel like put him on the map as like a dude who could carry a big budget movie, like deliver, as a leading man.
Seeing it made me want to go back and watch Blade, the first Blade movie.
I've never seen it.
Dude, we should watch that movie. That movie fucks.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. They got the new one coming at some point.
Yeah, he like intimated he would like to be involved, but they're like, nah.
Mahershala Ali, I think, as Blade.
It's going to be sick.
Great actor.
Yeah.
He did a lot of action shit after Passenger 57. He also was the foil to Stallone in Demolition Man.
Yeah,
it's a great movie. A Money Train I remember liking a lot with Woody Harrelson. Mm-hmm. Drop Zone, never saw it. I don't think
I've seen that one.
It might be another Die Hard knockoff, but it has to do with skydiving. And then,
Die Hard
in midair, Die Hard in free fall. And then U.S. Marshals, like the Fugitive sequel.
I do remember that. That was good.
But he did a lot enough. He starred in he was the lead in Rising Sun when they were doing all the Michael Crichton movies right after Jurassic Park.
That's right.
And he just was doing a lot of work. Then he had the tax troubles.
Yeah.
Didn't want to pay taxes.
No one does, but you have to.
Did time in jail, like 2+ years in jail.
Crazy.
Hard time. Well, maybe not hard time. I think it was like a medium security type with a lot of corporate bad guys and stuff like that. But he's bounced back. He's been busy as hell.
Yeah.
He was in the Coming to America sequel.
I did not see it.
Yeah. He was good in that. He was in the Dolomite.
That I remember.
The one he was excellent in that.
He was really,
Eddie Murphy,
really good.
Dolomite Is My Name. Awesome. And he stays working. He was in one of the Expendables movies, I think, after.
I think part 2? I can't say for certain.
Definitely not the first one.
Yeah. Who else was involved in this?
Director's name is Kevin Hooks.
Never heard of him, but I should have because he directed. He was in Inner Space.
He was an actor.
Yeah.
He acted like he was almost a child actor, I think. He was acting in stuff in the 60s.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he was in Inner Space. He was in the TV show The White Shadow, which I never watched, with the white basketball coach. Played the mayor in a TV show called He's the Mayor. I don't know anything about it, but I assume he was the lead.
Title's a little on the nose.
Directed the movie Fled, which was like a jailhouse movie with Lesser Baldwin brother and Damon Wayans, I think.
Okay. I think I remember seeing that on IMDb. But
he directed
I was like,
Black Dog with Swayze, which I've never seen.
Oh, okay. I saw the title and it sounded familiar, but I didn't click on it.
Yeah, I haven't seen either of those.
Lesser Swayze role. There's no such thing.
Directed a lot of TV.
Tons and tons and tons of TV.
Going way back. 21 Jump Street shit. Basically, almost any show you could think of, he's probably directed an episode.
At least an episode, yeah.
I saw. Do you got a list?
No, I just remember
jotted
seeing
some down. V. Yep. That was like a seminal sci-fi series, right?
I remember that.
Homicide, Life on the Street, ER, NYPD Blue, Lost, 24, Monk.
Yeah,
Bones,
he was busy.
Castle, The Good Wife, X-Files, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's still directing. He's doing like episodes of This Is Us.
That's cool.
So the man stays busy.
We like to hear it.
And he's a black dude, which I respect that they got a black director to.
I feel the same way
to do this. It's awesome.
In the early 90s.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
There wasn't a lot of dudes in the game. There still aren't.
Yeah, there's
sad to say.
Yeah, it's terrible. There definitely wasn't any diversity then. And there's probably just an inkling more now.
So I'm glad to see that they went beyond just a black leading role,
right?
To put some diversity behind the camera as well. Oh, dude was also the executive producer of the show Prison Break, which was a big hit. I never watched it.
Everyone that I knew fucking ate shit over that show. They loved it.
He directed a bunch of episodes of that as well.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Famous. Story by Stuart Raffle and Dan Gordon. Screenplay by Gordon and David Lowry, I guess you pronounce it.
Lowry, I would think, yeah.
Gordon was all over the place, man. He wrote Wyatt Earp, Hurricane, Surf Ninjas.
He wrote Murder in the First, Rambo Last Blood.
Yeah.
He wrote a bunch of episodes of Highway to Heaven.
Bigger. No, that's cool. Dearly departed Michael Landon. Yeah.
The dude Raffle, I never heard of, but he wrote and directed Mac and Me. Do you know that movie? The E.T. knockoff?
I bring that movie up regularly because, and only a couple of people that listen to the show regularly will know what I'm talking about. But there was this girl that I used to work with who is she looks like Mac, the alien. So if you're out there, you know who you are.
That's
you know what I'm talking
thing.
about. No, she's also a terrible person.
Does she have hair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just in the face, though.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You're going to have to show me
but also,
pictures after we're done.
Mac and Me is a running gag that Paul Rudd uses on, Conan?
Every time he's on a show with Conan O'Brien, dating back 20, 30
to
years.
The 90s.
Yeah, he would come on and offer up a clip of whatever his thing was and then run the same clip of Mac and Me.
Flying down the hill.
The kid in a wheelchair, out of control, rolling off a cliff. And he's like, what? How did that get in there?
What a great gag.
Amazing.
Yeah, Mac and Me was one of the the VHS tapes that we would get regularly at the video store and rag that shit out.
I only have seen, I think, the MST3K version. Or Riff Tracks version.
It's so stupid.
It's
just ET knockoff.
Yes.
But worse. Light years worse.
Oh, yeah. Imagine ET with no budget at all. And just an incoherent plot. It was just, it was bizarre. And that the final writer, David Lowry, he had written Star Trek V, which I didn't watch the old Shatner Star Trek stuff.
I saw it probably, but don't have any recollection.
He wrote that 90s Three Musketeers, the one with Charlie Sheen and Kiefer Sutherland and stuff like that. And he wrote Money Train, another Snipes movie. I did like Money Train.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about the music.
The music, and I recognized the name, but I couldn't think of why. The music was written by the legendary Stanley Clarke. He is a bass virtuoso, which really comes through in the score of this movie.
Upright bass.
Jazz bass. Everything you hear is slap bass.
Like a bass guitar?
Yeah, bass guitar.
Okay.
So bass virtuoso, I'm sure he plays upright too, just given who all he's played with. But he's a 4-time Grammy winner, tons of movie credits, played with a laundry list of musical greats, including Aretha Franklin, Quincy Jones, some jazz legends, Stan Getz, Art Blakey, one Stephen Wonder, Chaka Khan, The Police, and on and on and on and on and on. And then the music editing was Jamie Forrester, who worked on all of the Star Wars movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do it in the music department?
Just production management and in music department.
Okay.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Who's in this besides Wesley?
Outside of Wesley, we got the villain, played by an actor named Bruce Payne.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I think this was definitely his pinnacle. There's nothing else on his resume that stood out.
I think he's super busy in the in UK on the BBC and as a theater actor, tons of theater credits.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, he seemed very Shakespearean.
Yeah, it's is Alan Rickman available? No. How about this guy?
What if? Yeah, totally. Alex Datcher, an actress. She played the flight attendant Marty. She hasn't had also much of a career outside of this. She'd done some TV, hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Okay.
Martin. She was in the Pauly Shore movie Jury Duty.
Okay.
I saw.
Yeah.
She just was making it work for her in the 90s.
Nice.
Starred a young Elizabeth Hurley.
Yeah, one of her first movie roles.
Yeah, very early for her. She blew up, of course, and had a great success around the Austin Powers franchise.
And Bedazzled was a personal favorite of mine with Brendan Fraser.
I remember the movie. She was the devil.
Yeah, it's so good.
Was it good?
It's very good.
I don't remember it was good or not.
Because I was a big Brendan Fraser fan. Like
that was on heavy HBO rotation, right? I think that's where I saw it too.
It's very, very, very good.
Okay.
It's very funny. I mean, it's not like good, but it's like enjoyable, you know.
Also features a favorite of the podcast, Tom Sizemore.
As one of the greatest character names of all time, Sly Del Vecchio.
How do you spell that? D-E-L Vecchio.
I don't know how to spell his name.
I love that shit. But he was, we talked at length about him in Point Break.
Yes. I've forgotten he was in Wyatt Earp, which Dane Gordon, who wrote that. He
was in Heat.
Natural Born
Saving
Killers.
Private Ryan.
Striking Distance.
Yeah, he's awesome, dude. Yeah. And, you know, versatile, but he always brings the goods.
Oh, yeah. He is, we'll talk more about him, but he's awesome. And then I loved this addition to the cast, Michael fucking Horse.
I'm sure you were delighted.
I was
delighted to see him.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, we may have mentioned it already. I can't remember. I'm sleepy still because it's morning. So this is a blind taste test for me. If I've seen this movie, I have no recollection, but it's good enough where I feel like I would have remembered it. So coming into this, I was delighted to see Michael Horse on the cast list as Forget. People will know him for his excellent decade-spanning portrayal as Deputy Tommy Hawk Hill of the Twin Peaks Sheriff's Department.
Yeah.
So I was super excited to see that name on the credits.
What I learned in researching for this is that dude is like a renowned artist.
I did not
as well.
I want to buy.
But he does like tribal art and jewelry and paintings, carvings. But his shit's been like displayed in the Smithsonian.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's so cool.
Way to go, Michael Horse.
Yeah,
You're
amazing stuff.
Damn national treasure.
So yeah, as we mentioned, the movie clearly is some sort of a Die Hard knockoff, like so many others that came out in the wake of Die Hard.
Or that great film.
There was I was just springing to mind was like Under Siege, Speed, Sudden Death, Cliffhanger. Yeah, they were cranking
Air Force One.
Any movie where you have a good guy sort of trapped in a confined space with a group of bad guys.
Yeah, terrorists.
But it works.
Yeah,
that's
totally
why
works.
I think, you know.
That's why they keep dragging it back out there. Roll that shit out there again.
So I want to talk about this movie then.
I guess we should. Hit it.
The last thing I'll mention before we dig in is how short this movie is.
As we said, tightly packed, brisk little plot.
It's from the first frame to last frame is 84 minutes. If you remove the credits, the opening credits and the closing credits, it's like 78 minutes long.
This episode will be 78 minutes long.
Yeah, that's barely you can barely call that a feature film.
Yeah.
But, you know, I dig it, man, because they kept it moving.
Yep.
I like that. Better that than dragging on and
absolutely.
on.
Yeah, we don't need to see too much.
So, as mentioned, there's an opening title sequence. Don't really get a lot of prolonged opening credits sequences in films anymore.
We mentioned that it's very similar to the opening credits of Long Kiss Goodnight.
Yeah. And this one, I feel like it's just like padding out the runtime.
Yeah, totally. The music, they told Stanley, we need some like 90s jazz fusion. So there's lots of synth and slap bass. Ding, ding, ding.
Is that but is it synthesized or do you think that's a real instrument?
There's a lot of synth, like
synth slap bass?
No, the bass I think is real.
You think it's real?
I think that's probably Stanley Clark.
Okay.
But all the synth stuff that you hear in the background is somebody else playing keyboard.
It sounds like, if you're having a hard time picturing it, it sounds like the same instrumentation that they use in Seinfeld. Like that type of shit.
I thought it sounded a little bit John Carpenter-ish to me.
Yes. I thought it also sounded maybe a little Faltermeyer-ish.
Yeah.
Also a little pornish. It's like porn soundtrack almost.
Delicious.
Yeah, I don't know, but the credits, they're showing these X-ray images of like items as they're passing through.
Keys, glasses, combs,
TSA.
Money.
It looks like photo negative effect almost. I wondered like if that's what things really look like in an X-ray machine back in that time.
Yeah.
It was interesting to me. It was normal shit, like you said. There was also a bunch of cassette tapes, which I thought was just a weird touch.
I have to return some videotape.
Yeah, I don't know. It culminates on this ID for a British citizen named Charles Rane.
So this happens as the title of the movie comes on screen. which to me is misleading because it makes it seem like whoever Rane is passenger 57.
That I could see that. I could see definitely how and how that would have worked just as well.
Yeah.
He's as pivotal of a character as
he gets
Snipes'
a lot
character.
of fucking screen time.
Yeah.
This Rane guy.
Clearly, this dude, he's going to be important.
Mm-hmm.
The camera pushes in like incredibly close on Rane's eyeball.
Yeah, on the ID.
Like closer and closer. Then it sort of does this dissolve to a surgical light. So we see this guy, Charles Rane. He's like reclined in an operating room. 3 nurses are preparing the room for surgery. This place doesn't seem as pristine as I imagine an operating room would be.
Yeah, agreed.
There's like no hairnets on anyone. Like I feel like everyone's wearing, like you don't see any of them. They didn't have glasses on. Like the
doctor performing the surgery would definitely be wearing all of their hair would be covered.
Yeah, I would think so.
Especially
right?
for
And
the
they usually
procedure
wear like the clear sort of protective goggle type thing. You just don't want any bit of yourself dropping into like an open wound.
No, or
cavity.
an open like face transplant, which shit.
Whatever's happening here. It's weird. Yeah, the surgeon enters, holds up a mirror, asks Rane if he'd like one more look at his face before the procedure.
I never live in the past.
Fucking shit.
What? Okay.
This guy, Bruce Payne, is already playing the part with like such a relish, you know?
He's like I'm revisiting all of the Batman Arkham games for you video game nerds out there right now, and am restruck by how fucking like sadistic, like Gotham per capita, more serial killers than any place in any fictional universe. It's like, Jesus Christ, Batman's dark as shit. This guy seems like a crazy ass Batman villain.
He's clearly crazy, right? I never live in the past.
Just to wait. Yeah. His delivery.
So, but yeah, we get the impression he's about to have like a plastic surgery. So the anesthesiologist, she goes to put Rane under, but he refuses.
Say what now?
The doctor's like, I have to give you something for the pain. There will be no pain.
When we cut your face off?
This dude is clearly like doing a Hannibal Lecter, I feel like, impersonation.
Yeah. I mean, he looks like Peter Green that played Redfoot. He also looks like, what's the dude's name you mentioned?
Oh, yeah, Buffalo Bill.
Yeah,
I mean,
he looks like Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs.
He has that look going. The doctor just shrugs it off.
Okay.
And says to proceed. Nope. No surgeon would ever consider that.
Nope.
They'd be like, first of all, he'd be like, oh, you're a crazy person. Like, I'm not going to perform a surgery on a person who needs a mental health check.
Right.
Like anyway, but there's more at play here, I guess, that maybe makes some of this.
Agreed. That's
passable.
Definitely the vibe I got as well.
So cut to aerial shot of downtown Orlando.
Not a big movie locale usually.
You don't hardly ever see movies with an Orlando setting. The only one that I could think of was Ernest Saves Christmas.
Where were they going in The Wizard? Were they going to California? To Universal Studios in California, or are they going to Universal Studios in Orlando? I can't remember.
I think they were heading to California.
I think they must have been too.
What about... I'm going to be dead ass wrong on this, so I'll chop it out. But I recently started rewatching Flight of the Navigator.
Oh,
and they're somewhere in Florida, I think.
They are. I think you're right.
I don't know if it was Orlando.
They're getting ready to remake that.
Are they?
Yeah.
Like literally, you know this?
I know that. I know it for a fact.
Okay. I'm gonna finish the other one because I started watching and I was like, shit, this is good.
Yeah,
I hadn't watched it in 30 years.
That's one of those movies that like makes me feel super, super nostalgic.
Yeah,
for whatever
I
reason.
watched the hell out of that, but I haven't. That's one that I haven't seen in forever.
There's a lot of the message of that movie is heavy.
I liked also it's because they didn't really need to do it, but the kid sort of falls down and hits his head or whatever in the woods, and then wakes up later and comes back, but like. Years had passed.
Right. Yeah.
That shit was dope.
Yeah. It was.
That
awesome.
was like that's a lot for ask kids to.
There's a huge haunting element of that movie that it stays with you years and years later. Yeah. I remember being like struck heavily by it.
So I will return and finish that. But back to Passenger 57.
What? Fine.
We got a couple of SWAT team vans with a motorcycle escort rolling up. They're the most unofficial looking vehicles I've ever seen. It just said SWAT on the side. Didn't say like Orlando Police Department or anything like that.
Keep it simple. We didn't have enough paint.
Stick on letters. We got to return these rentals in a minute.
Exactly.
But yeah, one pulls into this parking deck. Another continues on. Back in the operating room, we got the surgeon. He's got sweat dripping off his brow.
Mm-hmm.
He's nervously checking the clock. Says 30 seconds until noon. Rane is like eyeballing the surgeon suspiciously.
Right.
Wouldn't any surgeon be nervous at the thought of like, I'm about to slice this dude up and he's not put under? He's going to start moving and screaming.
Yeah.
But something is clearly amiss. So we got a couple of FBI guys. They're waiting on the top level of this parking deck when the SWAT van rolls up. SWAT guys, they pile out of the van. The lead FBI guy fills them in. He says Rane is on the 3rd floor for plastic surgery.
Yeah, he's super duper dangerous. I just like the 3rd floor is the plastic surgery floor. No, it's not.
What would it be?
Like there would be a surgery floor.
Okay.
I don't know that all
do
plastic
some of these
surgery.
do like in like outpatient, like in a, I mean, this is
Maybe.
clearly a hospital, but I was wondering if some of these procedures are like done in a just an office building.
Well, if it's like liposuction, yeah, it could be done. It doesn't need to be done at all.
I guess if there's anesthesia, like you're being put fully under, you need to be near an ER.
Right. Probably.
Okay.
But if it's just like local anesthetic, something like that, then
yeah,
it can be done in strange places, back alleys.
For sure.
Yeah, he also says that Rane keeps changing his face, and if they blow it, he'll be lost. So for a man that's undergone like several face transplants, there's not a lot of, number one, scar tissue. Is he going to several of like the best? He's like paying the best surgeons in the world.
I don't know.
Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, the guy is like, if we lose him, if we blow it, he'll be lost forever. Well, there's no logic to that. If he's been changing his face and you're on top of him right now, like it just doesn't make sense that he'd be lost forever. But okay, it gives us stakes.
Yeah,
is what it does.
Right.
So now, as back in the operating room, the surgeon is moving his scalpel towards Rane's face. That's not how any of this works. He didn't have any markings on his face. You don't just grab a scalpel and start slicing.
Maybe if for a full face transplant.
Do you think that's what's happening? Like he's taking the entire face off?
Yeah.
Fucking John Woo style?
Maybe, yeah. I think so.
Okay, I'm under the impression he was just going to do I don't know
He's going to like do a little, like take a little here, snip a little there, change the nose, change the lips.
Even in face off,
those, like,
they do the little marker and they don't just cut freehand.
Maybe this guy is an artist. Maybe that's why Rane is in Orlando.
I don't know. But Rane grabs the guy's hand.
Okay.
Another peril of performing without the patient unconscious.
Right.
Rane asks him what time it is. The doctor says it's noon. Rane springs out of the chair and slashes the surgeon's throat with the scalpel.
Okay.
He dashes out of the room just as the SWAT team comes rushing in.
The poor doctor's kind of thrashing on the floor. No one's helping him.
It's bizarre that Rane seemed to know something was happening.
Yeah. Know
something was fishy there, but he was content to just bide his time and sit in the chair until like the last moment. I'm like, because it took so long for prep, or because the doctor was just like, I don't have any idea. But also the thing, I imagine the plan was right that the doctor's going to put him under, and then the police would walk in and take him into custody while he's unconscious.
Right.
So I don't see why they would come busting through with guns drawn if that was the plan. But maybe they saw through the window that. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe they heard, the commotion, the kerfuffle.
It makes for a better action movie scene. So Rane is running through these hospital halls. He reaches a bay of elevators, and the second SWAT team comes pouring out of the elevators. Rane runs away as they open fire.
In a hospital.
Just shooting it up in the middle of a hospital.
Right. Thank God everyone's in a hospital, I guess.
Rane, no hesitation, jumps out the 3rd floor window through the glass.
Yeah, so the two SWAT teams are like converging, and the dude just goes for broke and is like, fuck it.
He is like
I'm
fucking
3 stories
Omar
up.
in The Wire. Like, he just dove out. Is like, there's no reason for him to think that wouldn't be the death of him.
Right.
I don't think that you could just run and jump through a window like that. I think those windows are set up to that's impossible.
Yeah. I'm saying that
glass and everything.
That glass is not going to give way if you just run and hit it with your elbows.
Yeah. It would have made more sense had the SWAT team sort of been shooting and broken the glass.
But that would have killed him.
Yeah.
End of
movie.
Man,
they could have missed him and broken the window. I don't know.
The stunt it looks like whoever's taken that leap is falling from much higher than 3 stories.
You think?
Yeah, to me it looks like it. It's like looks like 10 stories up there or some shit. It looks far.
But he lucky for him, he lands on top of a patio umbrella.
A patio umbrella then hits a table, and then a dude like whoever's sitting at the table like falls on top of him.
Which still seems like it would fuck you up.
If I make that fall, I'm not getting up from it.
Nah. But he pops up and keeps running.
Okay.
It's like that action movie logic, the John Matrix logic.
That's exactly what I thought too.
Where it's like, just don't even give the audience time to scrutinize this. That this is not possible.
And I was thinking, broken legs. He's broken something. The dude's not even bleeding when he gets up. There's no
running
blood.
Full speed. He's running faster than ever. So, police cars and officers, they close in on him. And he's running through these crowded Orlando streets.
Why did that first cop car plow into him? The cop car braked, and he kind of put his hands on the hood and then went running. Like, fucking run over him.
It's like... And also, he's running and knocking into people and shoving people down. It'd be a lot faster just to not run into people.
Yeah, the body checking, I was like, God, he's hitting everyone. He's got so much anger.
So now he runs into a police car and sort of tumbles over the hood. This is the moment, one of my favorites in the movie. The water delivery truck.
What the fuck?
Driving with all of its doors open for some reason, skids out and dumps these bottles of water like the ones for a water cooler all over the street. Why was this thing driving with the side doors open?
It in no way made the scene look cooler with all the bottles crashing in water like sloshing over the street.
It could only be done because they thought visually it's like a moment that... But first of all, yes, it didn't enhance anything.
At all.
And there's no circumstance ever where the guy would be driving with all of the hatches open.
Like if he had stolen the water cooler truck while it was being unloaded or something like that, I could see it. But they're like, we need something to happen. And someone said, what if we had a water cooler truck and just water bottles went everywhere?
We need something. Yeah, we need the equivalent of the truck hauling a load of watermelons that like tips over. I don't
get it. And the water splashing over. I'm like, that doesn't look cool.
It's like a half-baked sort of scheme.
Yeah, agreed.
But anyway, Rane was surrounded by mustachioed SWAT guys.
Everyone had a mustache. Always.
That's like that early 90s mustache. That's the look that my dad has like locked in and continues to roll with.
Steve. Shout out to Steve.
So they take him, they put him in the police car, drive him off.
End of movie.
Back on an airplane, we got passengers and flight attendants mingling around a cabin.
Right.
It's the roomiest airplane setting you've ever seen in your life.
And this happens throughout this film. Like, I'm like, where these are international flights.
Yeah.
Right.
We got John Cutter. That's Wesley Snipes. He's checking out an attractive flight attendant.
Marty Slayton,
played by Alex Datcher. Now, Cutter gets up out of his seat. He reaches into his pocket. Pulls out a gun.
Yeah, he like makes his way around to the left side of the plane, like across the huge center seating section, because it's one of those 2 aisle things.
I flew in one of those recently. It was not this roomy. Snipes has a great look.
Yeah, he does.
He just looks cool, like the cheekbones and everything. He looks like just a successful, smooth,
attractive
dude.
Man. Yeah,
absolutely. So he prepares to ambush Marty, pounces on her, grabs her, and puts the gun to her head. What?
I'm so confused.
Cutter says, everyone do what I say. No one's going to get hurt. Cutter tells Marty we're going up to the flight deck. It's an apparent hijacking.
Yeah.
As he forces her towards the cockpit, she sort of kicks him in the shin, elbows him in the gut. Another passenger lunges out, grabs for his gun, and everyone starts cheering on the plane. Yeah. Camera pulls back to reveal this is like a training exercise being done on a stage.
Uh-huh.
Okay. It's a good misdirect. Explains also why there was so much headroom. There's just no ceiling. But who are the people in these seats? Who are they? Are they training flight attendants?
I think that they're other training flight attendants.
Okay. There were people of like all ages. Like they were senior citizens. They weren't children. Right. But I imagine if maybe it's not for new hires. Maybe it's just like once a year you have to go for a training course or something. I don't know. But I don't know what the people who were like in the back section of the plane would have learned. The ones who were back in coach or whatever, who couldn't even see the shit that was happening.
Right.
The other thing that I thought was that it could be that they're actors and like they're just filming a training video to show to people. That would explain the fact they were like people were screaming and things like in terror. You know, it'd just be weird for people to do that in a classroom setting or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I don't know. So, but Cutter, he's angry. He tells the camera operator to turn that camera off. Sly Del Vecchio walks into the room. That's our character, Sizemore. Love seeing him. So Cutter tells Marty,
like, what were you
thinking? She says she was improvising on his security techniques. She's got a lot of confidence.
Yeah, she got moxie.
And she's being like very flirty, it seems, as well. There are other people in the room giggle, but Cutter's not amused. He's like, yeah, that's real cute. Then he's like no nonsense guy, I guess.
Very much.
Cutter says if she had tried that for real, she'd have gotten her head blown off and endangered all the other passengers. This is weird. She's like, I was just trying to save lives. I don't know about that. This is where it's unclear to me if this was a real training exercise or was this a scripted thing and she deviated from what she's supposed to do.
I think that probably they are supposed to. You have a list of things that you are told you're supposed to do.
And she went off the script. Okay, but we don't. Yeah, I don't know.
But all right, given events since 9/11, training has probably changed.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's obey the hijackers
Number
anymore.
one, she said she had keys to the cockpit. I don't think anyone has keys to the cockpit anymore. Yeah. I think that should those days are gone. And also, I think that if this happens now, they're like, do everything you can.
Yeah,
do everything you can to stop it.
For sure. It's also, I mean, you hear stories, but I don't think it's as easy as it probably was then to like smuggle a gun on board.
Right.
So if someone does have something, it's probably a small like blade type weapon.
Because they don't want to fucking blow out a window and cause the cabin to depressurize.
Cutter makes a bizarre Angie Dickinson reference.
Yeah.
I'm like, is that in the 90s? Like, that's 30 years past her like heyday.
Right.
This is an odd reference to make. And I was Googling back through her career to see, did she like famously play, like, was she in one of these airport movies, or something like and I couldn't find anything that would make that a relevant reference more so than like that's his go-to actress to reference. Angie Dickinson.
I don't know
either. Now he says, the next time a man holds a gun to your head on a crowded plane, you follow instructions. Foreshadow much?
Yeah, I know.
I love that. Marty doesn't appreciate this public dressing down. She calls him a former security specialist.
How does she know?
It's like, I'm not a former anything. He says, weird.
Okay.
I mean, but truly, he's here doing security training. So at minimum, I feel like he's a current security specialist.
Agreed.
Del Vecchio steps in and dismisses class until next week. So I guess it is a class. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it'd be the same people week after week. I don't know. It's a strange thing. But now they're off to resume their flight attendant careers or whatever with the wrong training.
Yeah.
Apparently. It's just weird. So Marty stares down Cutter. I think she was feeling his flow, though. Women remain like a mystery to me. Like, he's kind of rude to her and mean, and she was into it, but I don't look like Wesley Snipes either.
That's also true.
So Cutter, he doesn't seem happy to see Del Vecchio.
He's not happy at all about anything.
He's like in a permanently bad mood. It's kind of a weird writing or a weird performance choice.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't come off as like a likable, McClane was a grumpy guy, but he was also likable. He had jokes and, they humanized him. Cutter comes off more like a robot.
Yeah, he's
an angry robot.
Just pissed.
Now, as Del Vecchio and Cutter are walking out of the building, Cutter says I appreciate you getting me this job, but you have no right to interfere with my class. He just comes off as a prick almost.
Yeah. Well, it's like when he first sees him, he's like, what the hell are you doing here? And Del Vecchio says, I'm fine, Cutter. How are you doing?
Yeah. Del Vecchio, he tells him, calm down. It's a training course. It's not the Secret Service.
Right.
It's also weird. Like, what's he saying? Like, it's just the safety of our passengers. Don't take it so seriously.
Okay.
Odd. I feel like this is a pre 9/11 world, though.
Yeah, definitely is.
So Cutter is saying, what this woman did was wrong. Del Vecchio says, you could have handled it without losing your cool. Then Del Vecchio says that Marty kind of reminds me of Lisa.
This is clunky as fuck.
He's like, Cutter instantly gets real defensive.
That bitch don't look nothing like Lisa.
Marty looks nothing like Lisa. I like Sizemore's just style. He's like, I didn't say she looked like her. I said she reminds me of.
Right.
It's like just juicy backstory teasing there. But that's not why Del Vecchio came here. Cutting to the chase, Basically, Cutter says, I'm not interested in coming back to work for the airline. So we get the impression he used to work there.
Right.
It's really never made clear exactly why he left that job.
Yes.
But it seems like things have taken a turn for the worse personally for him since he left.
Given everything that has been described in this and what we get into with the flashback, it makes me think that he was working for the company, and then after the tragedy of Lisa's death, he quit and went and did something tougher, some like other security.
Oh, you think?
I think like the Secret
Service burned out and washed out.
The Secret Service former security specialist thing makes me think that he went like big corporate, or maybe he was in the Secret Service or something like that,
yeah.
and then he's quit again, and then Del Vecchio hooked him up with his gig.
Work.
Yeah, something like that.
Like so. I found a draft of the script in which it's referenced like that Del Vecchio and Cutter were in the Navy together. They were old military buddies. Nothing like old war buddies. Anyway,
what is that? The Rock?
That's Sully.
Oh yeah.
Nothing like old war buddies.
That's right. Fucking sleaze.
So I guess that's where he got his like machismo, his commando type training. I don't know, but Del Vecchio is saying, teaching these security seminars can't be what you want to be doing. Cutter says he likes the job. Does he, though?
Do you like anything?
He seems to hate it. I don't know. Del Vecchio says, that the head of the airline has tasked me with hiring the best person to lead our counterterrorism group.
Okay.
And that's why he wants Cutter for the job. So Cutter reiterates he's not interested. Tells Del Vecchio to drop it. Del Vecchio says, I'll leave you alone if you take the job. I don't know. They have good chemistry, though. I feel like Snipes and Sizemore.
Yeah.
I feel like Sizemore's bringing that. He's somehow making Cutter almost likable, even though there's nothing ostensibly likable about him.
Like what we're saying about Snipes' performance of this, I never get even though he's being an asshole to Del Vecchio, yeah, you're right. I don't get the feeling that he's like a jerk. I think that he's just like, it's not his complete and total personality to just be a complete dickhead.
He's just a serious guy, I think.
Yeah.
Especially, I guess, he takes this security shit very seriously. Right. So Sly says that Cutter's refusal is not about the job, it's about Lisa.
Right.
And he says, no one knows better than I did about how much Lisa meant to you, but you got to stop blaming yourself. You got to get off the sideline, get back in the game.
Yeah, get back in the game.
Uh-huh. Del Vecchio says, I've set up a lunch the next day with the head of the airline that I hope you'll be there.
Right. Hell of a talent from Sizemore. He gives good eyes, always.
Yeah. Man, Del Vecchio is going to look like an asshole if Cutter doesn't show up.
Yeah, for real.
And he promised the boss, Cutter's going to be there. So they part ways. Now back
elsewhere
with Rane. He's being escorted through a prison. The inmates are chirping at him, remarking about how pretty he is.
Right.
I love the one line somebody says, like, look at that pretty ass white girl. What's her name? That was some funny shit. He gets placed in the cell with his attorney.
We know this because he calls him Attorney Phillips, which is not how anyone in the history of litigation has ever addressed their lawyer.
That's not a what do you call it, a prefix, right?
No, you don't say this is Attorney Johnson.
You're Johnson Esquire, or something. If you're trying to be
and like you say, this is the lawyer. This is in the UK. He'd call him a barrister.
Yeah,
Attorney Phillips. No, that's not a thing that anyone has ever said to their lawyer.
Oh my God! So the lawyer tells him you're being transported to Los Angeles. I'm not sure when.
Okay.
Rane tells the lawyer to notify his people. As soon as he knows the details, they'll know what to do. So the lawyer's warning him that California's got the death penalty, and the feds have a witness there that's going to testify that you're responsible for 2 airline bombings in the past year. Rane says, I'm responsible for twice that amount.
So 4.
Okay. The lawyer suggests that we should, go for an insanity defense based on your childhood. That's a big mistake.
Yeah, with this motherfucker.
Rane slams the lawyer's face down on the table. He fish hooks him. Never mention my childhood.
There's lots of venom in the voice.
Rane says, it's the nature of a man to confuse genius with insanity.
Now, this is...
Not sure what that has to do with anything.
Okay.
I love how melodramatic and over the top this shit is, though. Like a truck. We get a Dutch tilt, which is a theme through this movie.
Right.
It's sort of... It's a trick where the camera just tilts at an angle It's meant to, I think, make the viewer feel like off balance or,
And this guy is crazy.
So he makes the lawyer repeat over and over, Charles Rane is not insane.
No, he's a totally normal guy.
That's very sane behavior.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Cutter is meditating over an altar in a cool loft apartment. There's a thunderstorm raging outside.
The vibe, and I dig the vibe in the apartment.
Do you like that?
I like the camera movement to him as he's meditating. And I appreciate he's meditating.
He was on some new age shit in there. He had
There's some incense burning.
His incense, there was like a pyramid on his altar.
Yeah, and his hands are all wrapped up like a fighter.
Got that the Kenny G style sax.
Yeah, there's some exactly. There's some soprano sax and bass duet happening during this part.
That music was very of the moment though in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Now he flashes back to himself and Lisa in a mini mart. Lisa's going to check out. An armed robber burst in. Merry Christmas, motherfucker! It's a Christmas movie, John.
Well, this is a flashback.
The flashback intercuts with Cutter. He's working on punching bags.
Wesley Snipes had skills.
It seemed almost self-taught, more than you see Van Damme, but he had moves for sure. That was a one fit motherfucker too.
Yeah,
man.
He's jacked up.
Yeah. So now in the flashback, Cutter pulls his gun out, points it at the robber who's taken Lisa hostage.
So if he's got a gun, he's a cop then, right?
Or he's just got a license to carry. I don't know where they're living. In Florida, everyone and their mom's pecking around here.
Like who? Farmers. Who else? Farmers' moms.
The robber tells Cutter, though, to drop his gun. I thought that robber was a hell of a good actor.
Yeah, he was good.
He was
menacing as shit.
Cutter reluctantly puts his gun down. We got Cutter telling Lisa everything's going to be okay. Definitely a mistake to let the robber know that you and Lisa are together.
Agreed.
Because they weren't even they were on opposite sides of the store when it all popped off. So the robber says, you shouldn't have tried to stop me the first time. Shoots her in the head.
So that dude's fucking crazy.
Runs out of there empty-handed. Didn't get the money or anything.
See, before you were just going to get charged with armed robbery.
Oh, yeah.
Now you're going to be charged with murder.
Murderer. Except Cutter grabs that gun and shoots and kills the dude before he can even get away in his car. Now we got Cutter. He's crying over Lisa's body. What have I done?
Well, no, it's not that bad. He tells her.
Her brain's hanging out.
I say one half of her head is gone. Probably.
Now back in the present, we got an exhausted Cutter. He's leaning against the wall in a rain-soaked window. It's a mood.
Yeah.
I'm thinking he went into a tailspin after this happened and sort of washed out of his job with the airline and has been struggling since then. That's my read.
Traveling the world because given the car, he drives a new Corvette.
A sweet
he lives in that fucking badass apartment.
Although Orlando was not the hottest spot to live at that time.
How much does a top level, because we assume he's a top level security consultant, making?
I bet he's making six figures.
So he probably had enough money to travel the world and try to get zen.
Maybe that's where he went to India and got all locked
I looked it up. It's today the top individual earners in the physical security market make $147,000 a year. Top cybersecurity guys are making $30,000 more than that. But it probably varies by contracting company.
I bet then back in the 30 years ago, I bet it was actually maybe it was a little less than 100 then.
But making good money nonetheless.
Now, I will say in the script, Lisa died in a different way. She died in a plane bombing. That he would it was on their honeymoon or some shit, and a bomb went off in the undercarriage of the plane and half the passengers died, but he survived or something. That
doesn't make any sense.
Made an emergency, was able to land. I don't know.
It's weird. That's a bridge too far.
I think I haven't finished reading the script yet, but presumably I think it was a rain bombing or something probably. But yeah, I guess this makes sense, except that it also it would make more sense how serious he is about the work.
Yeah.
If he had a personal loss in an airplane attack or something. But anyway, fade 2, Cutter is driving that red Corvette convertible down the road.
Little red Corvette.
Yeah, that Kenny G style music playing again. This didn't seem to be Orlando because he was driving, it looked right on the coast.
Mm-hmm.
But at any rate, he pulls up to this nice country club looking place, drops his car off with the valet. Cutter walks in, enters the dining room where he finds Del Vecchio and the head of the airline, Ramsey, played by Bruce Greenwood.
Yeah, so he's been in tons of shit in the past decade plus, including like all the new Star Trek movies as Pike, Hewson, iRobot, Capote, yada, yada, yada. So
that was one handsome man.
Still is.
Yeah. Lots of good credits through the years. Cutter's wearing this unflattering double-breasted suit, enormous lapels, sunglasses indoors.
It's hard to make a double-breasted suit look good. Anybody.
So the guy Ramsey says, Mr. Del Vecchio said you might not be coming. And then Cutter says, well, Mr. Del Vecchio was wrong. It's like, that's a shitty way to start the interview process.
Yeah, with your friend just
throwing your friend under the bus also.
Yeah. He's a fucking asshole.
Fade 2. Some time has passed. Cutter is breaking down airline hijacking statistics.
Okay.
27 hijackings in the last 3 years. Almost every airline has had to deal with terrorism.
That's an alarmingly high number to me.
No, I wonder if that was...
That's a shit ton.
I wonder if that was true in the day. I don't know. And it could also just be somebody got rowdy on a plane. Like, I don't know if that means an actual successful hijacking.
I would love to go back and see like if hijacking numbers were ever that high and if it was just like a get rich quick scheme for these.
I feel like in the 70s it was happening a lot. Which could have been when the genesis of this script started.
That's true.
Who knows? But he says everyone except the Israelis, because the Israelis, they sniff out the terrorists before they ever let them get on the plane.
Yeah, they've never been fucked with.
Which is like, good idea. Why didn't we think of that?
Oh, okay.
There's a weird dissolve at this point where it seems like a large chunk of the scene has been axed out.
Right.
So we got Ramsey asking what Del Vecchio thinks. Del Vecchio says, I think Cutter's the best there is at this. Ramsey says, well, I'd like to fly you to Los Angeles for our meeting with the shareholders and introduce you as a new vice president. I presume like in charge of security or something like this.
Del Vecchio said earlier you'd be in charge of our new counterterrorism group. So I wonder if he'd be like VP of, like, companies have VPs of health, safety, and security. So I wonder if he'd just be like under that, like, something like that. At
any rate, it's a pretty incredible offer for a dude who seems to have like left the airline previously on not so great terms. Right. Cutter says he seems to reluctantly accept the offer.
Yeah,
he seems unhappy to be doing it.
He hasn't been happy in years.
No. Anyway, that's our setup for the film.
What?
We hope you've enjoyed it.
Time flies when you're having fun with Wesley Snipes.
So thanks for listening, and we'll be back.